Oh, what time is it? What? Oh, it's time to bake the sourdough. Hi, my name is Phoebe. Today we are making sourdough bread. So what we will need to get started is you need 2 1/3 cup of the sourdough starter. Look at that bubbly, gorgeous starter. And then we need 3 1/3 cup flour, 1 to 1 1/2 cup water. And the reason why it's 1 to 1 1/2 is I'm gonna add 1 cup, and then if I need more, I'll add it then. 'Cause you want it to be like form a dough, but to be sticky, not really, really dry, not really, really wet. So you just want a good moist dough. And then 1 tablespoon of salt. Let's get doing it. A tip to know if your sourdough starter is ready for baking bread: glass of water. You take just a little bit of the starter. I might have to do this on camera first or off. And it floats. So that's how you know that it is ready to go. This has been mixing for 5 minutes, and how you check it, you do something called the window pane test. And what that means is you take it between 4 fingers and you stretch it. And the goal is to be able to see light through the dough before it breaks. So you can start to see how that right there, you can start. I think I'm gonna put it in for another minute just because it started breaking before I actually started seeing that. So I'll check back in a minute. This has been 1 more minute. Okay, so do you see as I pull, there's not any tears. You can just see the light coming through. That's perfect. So that is called the window pane test. Now I'm just going to transfer the dough from the mixing bowl to the, we'll call it the proofing bowl. And this is gonna proof in here for 12 hours. So it is a little while. You can also put this in a pan if you want, in a proving basket. I'm just gonna put it in a bowl. And actually, before I set this, what I want to do, I'm just looking at the dough, and I just would like it to be in a little bit of a neater bun. So I'm just gonna take it and fold it. You can hear my dog grumbling in the background. And then I'm just gonna turn it around. Just so that it's a nice round loaf. Pick that up, and you can see it is a sticky dough. I'm just gonna put a little bit of olive oil over the top. A little bit more maybe, there we go. And then I'm going to cover this up with plastic wrap. I'm gonna put a towel on top of it, and I'm just gonna put it in, I put it on top of my stove, and it's kind of nice and warm up there, but not too hot, just naturally warm. And I'll see you in 12 hours. Sweet dreams. Good morning, sourdough and whiny puppy. Oh, you got big. So I did move this for a second, so some of the air is kind of coming to the top, which is actually okay because when I first had this on it, it was like pretty big. So I'm going to preheat my oven at 400 degrees, and you cook it for 30 to 60 minutes depending on the loaf size. I'm going to bake this all in one loaf, so that will be more like 60 minutes. What? What is it? You want my prop? Yeah, you want my prop? Good little interlude for the bread. Okay, that's enough. I gotta go to work now. Say goodbye. Now take a very sharp knife and just score the top. Okay. Very artisanal loaf. Not perfect. No factories here. Okay, so I'm going to put this now in the oven, like I said, for 30 to 60 minutes. I've never done it for 30 minutes because I've always done the whole loaf. It's more like 60 minutes. This has been baking for 60 minutes. I'm gonna do the old tap test. Hear how it sounds hollow? That means it's done. Ooh, it's a nice sound. Now, next step, very important, do not cut into this for an hour, at least an hour. If you do, it can be really gummy on the inside. Just let it cool on the counter. Patience. Oh, I want to eat it so bad. It's time. Oh, hello, sweet sourdough. Oh, look at that. So a couple tests, and whatever, by this time it's too late anyway, but to make sure that the bread is done, you squish it, and then it bounces back. Oh, this looks pretty yummy. Oh, yum. And now, what I know I have been waiting for since yesterday, eating the bread. Outside's nice and crispy, inside's chewy. It's got that flavor. Waited so long for it. I don't regret a thing. Well, I hope you enjoy making this at home. Take some time, but then you get this. If you store your sourdough starter on, nope, need the volume off. That's okay. If you keep your sourdough starter on the counter and you feed it every 12 hours, it should be good to go whenever you want to make some bread. Again, do the floating test. If it passes, make your bread. If you store it in the refrigerator, then take it out of the fridge in the morning, feed it like you normally would, leave it on the counter, see the bubble activity, I took mine out in the morning, fed it, let it go all day. By that night, it was active enough that I could do it. I did the test, it passed. If yours isn't, feed it again that night, keep it on the counter. Next morning, look at it, still not active, feed it again, and it should get the activity by then. You just want to see that bubble happening. And again, always do that test, that floating test. Doesn't float, not ready. Float, go ahead and bake. Something that I should mention, make sure you have enough of your starter to make the loaf of bread. You may need to have a bulk phase where you take 2 days and you feed it every 12 hours to get the amount of starter that you need to not only make the bread, but then have some left over to continue your sourdough starter. You don't want to have just enough for your recipe, because then once you've used it, it's gone. So you always need to make sure you have at least half a cup of your sourdough starter that you continue feeding either in the fridge or on the countertop. And that is a continual thing, and so that will make sure you will always have enough starter. So as you feed your starter, it gets bigger. There's more of it. No brainer. So when you're baking bread with it regularly, make sure you have enough for your bread recipe and some left over for the starter to continue. If you're just in storing mode and you're still feeding it, you are gonna have to discard some at some point. So you take out half a cup of that, put it into a separate container, feed that, and that is your new sourdough starter. The other stuff, you either discard, bin it, toilet it, or you can make things out of it. You can make pancakes, you can make biscuits, you can make crackers, you can make buns, you can make a whole bunch of stuff with it. So yes, very versatile. A couple things you need to know, but once you get it, it's pretty easy.